Hi there, everybody. Monday, and that means Roth Living, stir crazy in the kitchen. And we should say thanks to Roth Living every day of the world for allowing us to have this fabulous kitchen, fabulous chef, and fabulous times. And the star of our show is, well, I'm not the star, I'm Gabby. Lynn Thielen, you're not exactly the star either, but you're
Nah.
No,
living.
Lynn's always a star. Come on.
I'm
I
just that commentary that pops up every once in a while. Like, hey.
and the star is Ben Davis, who is amazing. And you're going to do something sort of easy, fun for Valentine's Day.
Easy and fun, absolutely. I mean, what could be better than that for Valentine's Day? We're coming up. What are we? We're right at the beginning of the 8th. What's today? The 8th. Something like that. So right.
You have 8 and 6 are 14.
That's right. So
So,
we're getting up. So falls on the weekend, right? So that's a good
I
thing.
bet it does. Must be on a
But
Friday.
yes, this isn't. I mean, Valentine's Day has all its sort of traditional associations with chocolate and hearts and flowers and all that kind of stuff. So we'll kind of stay in our lane a little bit with that and do a quick chocolate truffle. Chocolate truffles are not difficult to make. You can certainly spend umpteen dollars on buying them right
They
now.
are very expensive.
They are expensive because you really should use, most important thing is when you have only 5 or 6 ingredients in something, you really want to use the best ingredients you can come by. And so that's going to be really important in making your own truffles. And the nice thing is with this, you can flavor them however you like to, right? So if you don't want to go down the road that I'm going to go down, you can certainly do whatever you fancy in terms of flavoring your truffles. And there's no tempering
Fancy
chocolate.
where you're going.
Yeah. So, but we're not going to do any tempering of chocolates and all of those steps. We're going to make them very simple, but it's really it's all about the meaning that you're taking the time to make something for someone that you care about, you want to celebrate Valentine's Day with. So I think that makes these a little more significant than going out and just buying something, right? So
it's all about the whole made with love.
That's right.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if you're ready, I'm ready to go.
We're ready. Go to work. I've got my truffles ready to and walk.
Okay, fantastic. So first most important thing with chocolate truffles is the quality of the chocolate, right? So rule number 1 is there are no chocolate chips allowed, none whatsoever. You can't just go to the supermarket and buy bittersweet or semi-sweet chocolate chips. You can't do that.
Thank
they put
goodness.
stabilizers in those. They're not going to melt right. They're not going to look right. You got to buy some really good chocolate. I recommend that you do something north of 60% cacao, and it'll be printed right on the package. So you'll know exactly how much percentage of that chocolate bar is actually cocoa butter, right? That's what gives it its flavor. And the more cocoa butter, the darker the chocolate more often than not, the more bitter it is. It's not as sweet, right? But you definitely want to get up there in numbers. Now, you don't want to go.
Okay, excuse me. I've always heard you're supposed to start like at 70.
Well, you can certainly start at 70, but 60 will work just fine if you can't find 70. So 60 will be perfectly acceptable. But you just, again, you want to make sure that you're not buying chocolate chips. You want to get some really good, some good chocolate for that. So like I said, 60, 70%, even more, depending on how bitter you would like them, because obviously that's going to give you all the flavor here with that. So other ingredients in a truffle, really, really simple. Heavy cream. I like to add a little bit of unsalted butter to mine. For this version of chocolate truffles, I add a little bit of honey to this because I love the flavor of the honey. And then I'm using a little Ancho chili powder to give it a little flavor. You don't want to make it so chili-ish that you lose sight of the fact that it's chocolate. It's really about the chocolate. All these other things are completely auxiliary to that. So just a little bit of Ancho chili powder. And then it's always good, just a pinch of kosher salt. Just a little bit of salt helps heighten the flavors of everything, not just the chocolate, but also the chili and a little bit of the honey as well, right? Now, you can make these in advance. You don't have to make them the same day. Because you're making them with fresh cream, you're going to want to store them in the refrigerator, right? They're going to need to be refrigerated until you serve them. But remember, when you do serve them, they should be at room temperature, because chocolate always has more flavor when it's at room temperature. It will always taste better when it's at that ambient room temperature. When it's super cold, it's not going to have the flavor that you want. So, all right, so simple to make. Let's start with the cream. We're just going to put it into a saucepan, right? Just let that heat up, and you want to bring it to a gentle simmer. You don't need a rolling boil, right? You just need it to be hot, right? You don't need, super duper boiling cream. You just need it to get nice and hot, right? And we'll start, when we melt, we're going to add the butter and the chocolate first. Now, what I've done with the chocolate is I've chopped it very, very, very finely, right? You want the pieces to be even. They don't have to be dust, right? They don't have to be some kind of powder, but you want them to be a fairly even texture before they go into the hot cream, right? Just so they melt fairly evenly and uniformly. Most importantly is that you get a very uniform melt, so you get the nice shine, you get that nice creamy, smooth texture in the chocolate, right? So we want to make sure that they're nicely chopped at the beginning, right? We don't want to put big giant chunks in there that melt at an irregular pace, right? All right, so now our cream is just warming up. There we go. Of course, I can't see. There we go. All right, good. So now, just going to take the chocolate. We're going to pour it right in, just right into the middle. Now we're going to take the butter. We're going to add the butter to that as well. And the nice thing about butter and chocolate is they generally melt in about the same amount of time. Just let it sit there for a second, just to let it warm up. And again, we got it on about a medium to medium low flame. You don't need a lot of heat for this. And once you start seeing it starting to melt, then we're just going to give it a stir and just blend it till it's completely smooth. This is so important, to take your time here and melt it so it's completely smooth. And you want it to be obviously very homogeneous, but you want to get all the butter and chocolate melted before we add anything else to the pan, right? That's
no time.
No time whatsoever. It takes very, very little time. It's going to take more time to chop the chocolate and to refrigerate it, just to make it scoopable into the traditional shape of a truffle, right? Obviously, the shape of the chocolate truffle comes from the actual fungi, the truffle that that are so highly prized in French and Italian cuisine, right? So we're making our truffles at about the same size that we would find the wild truffles in. So now we're just starting to see just a couple little lumps of unmelted chocolate in there, but you can see how beautiful and deep the shine is. Butter certainly helps with the shine as much as anything else. Now just keep stirring it until you can't see any more lumps. That's going to be very, very, very important. The last thing you want is a crunchy truffle, unless you're going to roll it in something crunchy like nuts, or you could even put little chocolate jimmies on the outside. Those are a little crunchy too. All right, so there you can see how beautiful and shiny and smooth our mixture is. So let's add the remainder of the ingredients. We've got our chili powder. Sprinkle that in. Got our honey.
Looks so rich already.
Oh, it is rich. The amazing thing is, you make this batch of truffles, and you're going to have, probably about 15 to 18 truffles, depending on how large you make them. You eat 15 or 18 truffles, you're not going to want chocolate again for a while. So just nice.
Do you want me to try and see if that's
A little pinch of kosher salt. Just stir it together. Again, just get it nicely blended in. Make sure the chili, the honey are evenly distributed throughout the mixture. Now, if you didn't want to use the chili powder, you can add a little bit of liqueur. This is when you're going to add that liqueur. Don't add a lot. You can add a raspberry liqueur, a coffee liqueur, orange liqueur, whatever flavor that you might like. Just a teaspoon or so is all you need to flavor it with, right? Because the more liquid you add to it, the less it's going to set, right? So you don't want to add too much liquid, but just add just enough to give it that little hint. Again, it's about the chocolate. It's not so much about those flavorings that you're putting into it. So now what I've got is just a Pyrex pan. I like to use a small Pyrex pan, or if you have a ceramic baking dish, not too big, to chill it down. So then we're going to pour the mixture into this pan. And this also makes it much easier to scoop the truffles once the mixture has had a chance to chill a little bit and set, so it's easier to scoop, right? So there we've got that. Just kind of spread it out and then put it into the refrigerator uncovered. And depending on how cold your refrigerator is, it could take anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes. And it'll end up looking like this.
Okay,
Ta-da!
before you walk away from the stove, I just want to say something. I just want to give a plug to Roth Living. I am not fortunate enough to have gas burners, and I'm looking now, and you're using a flat top there. So anybody who wants to look at anything for their kitchen, I am not paid to do this advertising, and it's not mine. But you have stove tops for gorgeous stove tops for
Oh,
people.
absolutely.
Well, okay, you know, we don't give Roth Living a plug very often. Okay, just wanted to say I was thrilled to see you finally did
Yep.
something on the kind
And
of stove.
the Wolf induction is just, it's such a remarkable appliance for those of you who can't have gas, or people who can't cook on gas or not comfortable with gas. Whatever, the beautiful thing about Wolf induction is that it really does mimic the gas in terms of how it performs. So it also is obviously very easy to maintain and clean. It has a very sleek and contemporary look. So yeah,
And
it's a
for
remarkable appliance.
I get Ben Davis.
Don't go spreading that rumor around. Okay?
I won't tell your wife.
All right. So
Go
here we've
on.
got our truffle mix, right? We've got it. It's nice. It's been chilled. It's nice, and you can see it has kind of a matte sort of finish to it. So I've got a cookie scoop here. If you don't have a cookie scoop, you can use a melon baller. If you don't have a melon baller, you can just use a spoon and drag it and make the size of the truffle. Again, they don't have to be a particular size. It's really whatever you like. So if you have a scoop, use a scoop. If not, a spoon, a melon baller, whatever you're comfortable with. But generally speaking, you're kind of gunning for the size of about a large walnut, right? Is about the size that you would want. So just take your scoop and just drag it through this lovely richness, and then you can coat them in whatever you like. I've just got some unsweetened cocoa powder right here, right, nice and bitter. I'm just gonna plop that on there, right? That's a very technical term, to plop your food.
To plop.
That's in my
culinary
cooking
school
book.
term, right?
Mine
Right?
too.
So once you've got that, just take it, and the gloves are helpful, and roll it into a ball, and then just roll it around, right? If you don't want it to be perfectly round, you can kind of squish it and make it into a kind of a misshapen sort of thing, right? But again, you want to just roll it in the cocoa and just leave it on there. And you can see not too much is actually melting on my hand, right? So you're not having to worry about losing a lot of the chocolate, right?
Yeah.
You can just do that until you have all your truffles rolled, and then you can store them in the refrigerator in a covered container. And then when you're ready to serve them, just bring them out. Here for some that I made ahead of time. So I've got some ancho chilies there just as a little garnish, but you could certainly serve them with whatever you'd like, but obviously they're great with after dinner drinks, coffee, obviously traditionally served after all of the meal is done. You want that little bite of intense chocolate flavor. That's why the truffle always comes near the end of a meal, or obviously it's just in your free time when you've got nothing on Valentine's Day. You can just sit around and pop truffles in your mouth.
Okay.
But so you
so I can take those home with me.
That's
what
right.
You're saying.
That's right.
You have to leave some with me.
And you can definitely store them in your refrigerator covered for up to about a week. They'll
Don't
be
freeze
perfectly
them,
fine.
right?
Don't freeze them. No. Don't freeze them. But you can
Well,
just see, you just have those little things. But then if you don't want to use cocoa powder, you could roll them in, like I said, you can roll them in crushed nuts or some form of a chocolate, crushed sweetened chocolate, like chocolate jimmies or sprinkles, things like that. All of those things. The nice thing about the cocoa is it doesn't absorb into the chocolate, so it keeps that nice coating on the outside, so it doesn't melt all over your fingers when you pick them up. So,
it looks incredible.
very
Again,
simple, easy to make.
such a winner. Thank you, Chef. And don't
Awesome.
forget, please click like and subscribe on stircrazyinthekitchen.com. You'll watch new shows every Monday and on the Gabby Gourmet YouTube channel. But it's Ben Davis, Lynn Thielen, and me. And you can find it YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or just plain wonderful. Again, happy Valentine's. Love you both.
Happy
All
Valentine.
right, thanks, Gabby. All right.
Have
And
a
all
good
our
one.
listeners, thank you for listening and supporting us. Have a great week. Much love.